All right, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our virtual learning chat. I'm excited to see each of you. I was just talking with David here a little bit, and David was sharing with me he's teaching one of our late start classes, and his just got started this week. So I hope for those of you who are teaching regular start that those classes are off to a great start for this semester. So welcome, my name's Doreen. We also have joining us this evening Jasmine. Jasmine, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Interim Dean of Academic Affairs, Jasmine Simpson. Nice to see most of you on tonight.
Thank you. Michelle?
Good evening, everyone. It's Michelle Myers, Associate Dean, Virtual Learning, and I work mostly with workforce development.
Thank you. Also, do we have Brandy and or Emily this evening?
Hi, yes you do. Hi everyone, it's Brandy Scaff, Interim Dean of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management for Virtual Learning.
Thanks, Brandy. And our guest this evening, we have Michelle. Michelle, I can see you're here. Would you like to say hello to everyone, Michelle?
Hi, everybody. I almost jumped in when the other Michelle was called, so.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. And I was like, oh, that's not me. Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Please introduce yourself.
Well, I'm a graduate alum of HACS Virtual Campus. And let's see, that was 15 now. I got it, 2015. And then a recent graduate of Harvard University's Extension School. And now I'm doing an online MPA, finishing my online MPA at Westchester University, and also working concurrently on a doctorate through the same department at Westchester.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. And we're going to do some updates, and then we'll get to hear from you. So thank you. Thanks for joining us. All right, so now let's do some introductions for those of you who are joining this evening. If you don't mind, you can either type into the chat box, you're welcome, or you can use your microphone. David, I'm just going to start off with you. If you want to turn on your mic and say hello to everyone and or type it in the chat box, David.
Hi, I'll talk. David Feller. I like to think of myself as an adjunct instructor, but I'm actually full-time temporary this year, and I'm also the faculty government adjunct officer.
Well, welcome, David. Thank you. So I'm just going to read down the list. We also have joining us this evening, Amy. Amy, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everyone. I'll be a little bit in and out, but it's good to see everyone. And Michelle, great to see you. Haven't seen you since you were a chair, and good to see you're being successful in what you're doing. So congrats.
Thank you, Amy. We have Deb Redman. Deb?
Good evening, everyone. This is Deb Redman. I'm the Student Success Coach for the Virtual Learning students.
Welcome. Emily?
Hi, everyone. This is Emily Fox. I'm the Interim Director of Student Success for Virtual Learning, and I apologize, my dog is in the background chewing on a bone, so if you hear a background noise, that's what it is.
That's all right. Glad they can join us. Katie? I see, Katie, you typed into the chat box, but if you have your microphone and you'd like to say hello, you're welcome to.
Hi, everybody. It's Katie Dosh. I am COM full-time temporary faculty this year.
Thank you. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
Gina?
Hi, this is Gina Bowers. I have the same issue as Emily in terms of the dog eating a bone. It must be night. I don't know. And I'm the counselor for virtual learning and CIS and web faculty member.
Excellent. Thank you. It's dinner snack time, so I don't blame them. Matthew?
Hi, I'm Matt Fieser. I'm communications full-time with both virtual and Harrisburg campus.
Thank you, Matthew. Todd? Hi, Todd. I can see your microphone's off. I can't hear you, though. So Todd is one of our adjunct faculty for history and virtual learning.
He did type an introduction in
Yes.
the group chat. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. I'm not sure why your microphone's not working, Todd. Sorry. And Valerie?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Valerie Gray, full-time English faculty.
Great to hear your voice, Valerie. Well, thank you, everyone. Some may still be joining us as we get started here, and also we'll be sending out the recording to all of our virtual learning faculty and staff. So thank you for joining. We're going to do some initial updates for you, and then we want to give the bulk of the time to our guest presenter, Michelle, to share her experience and perspective with us here in virtual learning. So let's get started. So the master plan is moving along. There's actually some good data into the master plan already. Here's kind of an outline of what we're going to be focusing on in our master plan. I do still welcome any individuals who would like to contribute to different sections of our virtual learning master plan. So please contact me if you're interested in that. I also wanted to share Nicole Ernst, one of our GIS faculty. I'm excited. She's going to be doing a project with her GIS 275 class this spring semester. So with her students, they're going to be doing a demographic and geographic profile of our virtual learning students, plus giving us some good information on how we can begin to focus our marketing. So I'm excited for that project coming up as well. So just to give quick updates on, some things that are already in progress. So even though we've been taking this time to look at the SWOT survey results and identify those areas that we're going to be focusing on enhancing and moving forward in the next few years, here's just some things that are already kind of underway in regards to the areas that have been identified. So we had an online proctored testing RFP committee last semester. Actually, our last demo was on Monday, and the committee has selected one provider to continue to provide for HAC are both live online proctoring and then also some new technologies around the automated proctoring for our faculty and our students. So we're making the recommendation. I meet with procurement actually tomorrow. So we hope to announce that decision of the RFP committee hopefully in the month of February. So that's been going well, and thank you to those who served on that committee. Also, we've been focusing, as you know, on reinforcing our eAcademy rubrics. We've been focusing on just kind of making sure that our courses are, solid and focused on quality design and engagement. We are moving forward that as of our summer courses in D2L, there will be kind of a new and improved navigation bar for students when the courses are created. And let me see, I'm going to try to mute. One moment, please. I think we had someone new join us. One moment. Thank you. So also with that, we're going to have, again, kind of a new navigation bar for our courses in D2L that will hopefully assist students based upon their recommendations of being able to find things kind of consistently from a design perspective across our courses in virtual learning. Also, the Student Affairs team has been diligent with some new initiatives around student outreach and success. Just again this week, our team has been finalizing and having really good discussions about a new student concern link that will be right in D2L. So this will allow students to directly contact virtual learning instead of contacting individuals at the campus and kind of calling around. So we get their information immediately, and then we can best address their concerns as quickly as possible. Also, there's been some, again, great work going on in different areas by our faculty and the bookstore around reduced textbook costs. We've looked at some initial data around gateway courses, focusing also on improving the onboarding and kind of preparedness for those students who are dual enrolled. And the Student Affairs team, we've been working on, kind of a toolkit for advisors and counselors on how best to advise not only our dual enrolled students, but how do we best prepare students before they register for a virtual learning class. So the Student Affairs team should be sharing some information with you about that sooner than later. Also, we're excited we got support from the foundation for a new English language learners and digital literacy fast track. This initiative will be implemented in the Lebanon and the Harrisburg campus area starting the end of this spring semester. And actually, Michelle, we're so excited, is going to be assisting us as well about helping us to determine some assessment community needs and really identifying ways that we can sustain and continue to better support that population of student in our communities. Also, we've been, we're excited. We have 7 faculty who have submitted information for the 2 strategic initiatives. I'm working with VLFA. Jasmine and I are working with them. Paul Gleed has been identified from VLFA to be our kind of selector for moving this initiative forward. So we will be getting that information to you as soon as possible when those individuals are identified for that. Also, exciting about some focus on marketing. So Kathleen Pratt has kindly agreed to lead us at our spring retreat on a discussion about how do we brand virtual learning. Also in the end of spring, I'm scheduled to come back again with the OCA team in marketing and to really start to map out our marketing plan for virtual learning at HAC. We're also excited to share a new online political science program that is at this point anticipated to be released in spring of 2020. And a big thank you to the faculty who have been working on that program. So Terry Marquis, Stephen, Stephanie, and Michael. So thank you so much for that. We're excited for that new opportunity. Also, I'm scheduled to talk in February with our 100% online program faculty leads to start that conversation about their recommendations on how we better market and promote our 100% online programs. Also, we're continuing looking at new courses, accelerated program options. I'm excited that we had a great conversation, Jasmine and I, and also with workforce and virtual workforce last week with CCA. And we're going to be embarking on a new initiative around putting the trades online. And I'm excited that we're going to be focusing on using some new augmented reality to focus that particular initiative around. So we'll give you more information about that as we come up. So maybe we'll be able to see and hear a little bit more about our partnership with CCA when we're on site at their location in the spring semester in April for our virtual learning retreat. Also, Emily and the Student Affairs virtual team, they worked with OCA, and our virtual scholarships have been updated and expanded. So Emily, maybe we should share some information about that at our next chat. All right, and we continue to share the stories. Thank you for those faculty who have submitted information about what they do, their background, so that we can continue to promote the excellent work that our virtual learning faculty and staff are doing here at HAC. And here's just a little information about, a reminder about those 2 PPAs. The VLFA, they may still do another call to see if there's anyone else interested. So if they choose to do that, that'll come from Paul Gleed. So if you're still interested, let Paul Gleed or myself or Jasmine know. All right, and so here's another exciting new report from Institutional Research. Kim has created this new Tableau report where it gives us an enrollment comparison from spring last year to spring 2019 this year at 1 week before the start of the semester. So as you can see, we are doing really well with increased head count. We have an expanded group as well for our number of credit hours that are being taken for this spring semester. Also, I'm excited to share that our VA, or our VAll students, is up this semester as well. So we're seeing actually a 12% change and increase of those students that are taking virtual learning 100% online versus those students that are blending their education, taking courses both on campus and online. So we appreciate the faculty and our staff focusing on, doing our best to support those students who are taking our virtual classes so we can continue to retain those students. All right, and I will turn over to Brandy. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Just going through a few updates, I'm working with Tom Hale, who is our Student Affairs Business Analyst, to better highlight start and end dates upon course registration. So what does this mean? We recognize that there is an issue that's not so easily fixed with our online course registration process, or really our course schedule for students to look at what classes they're interested in taking. You actually have to hover over a field in order to see the start and end date of each course. And oftentimes students are missing that start and end date, so we hear a lot from our faculty and our students saying that they had no idea it was a late start, they had no idea that it was a different part of term, they weren't sure when their course started and ended. So unfortunately we don't have a good solution to fix that issue today in regards to, it's related to Banner, and we don't really have the ability to change fields right now. But what we can do is we can actually send students a confirmation email similar to what you all get when you order something from Amazon or a store. You get a little confirmation email just highlighting or summarizing your order. So there is where we would highlight start, end date, all information about courses kind of in a block rather than looking at it horizontally. You're looking at it, all of the information very clearly laid out. So I'm very excited about this. I'm surprised that we don't have this already, but I'm very excited about working with Tom to make this come to life. I don't have a timeline right now. He is out this week, but I will provide you with an update next faculty chat. We did send voice messages out. Thank you, Emily, Roger, Sierra. It's really a team effort. We did it last semester, we did it this semester, and we'll continue to do it in future semesters as well. So Roger was kind enough to provide us with a list of all students who were registered for a class, but that we noticed that they did not log in to D2L yet. So we were able to send a voice blast out to those students to remind them to log into their class, and we did this specifically timed before the first drop for non-attendance. So I know we had success last semester. I didn't look at the numbers this semester to compare who hadn't logged in prior to the phone call and then who logged in after the phone call, but I look forward to seeing those numbers as well. We're moving right along with the Ruffalo Know-Levitz recommendations. That's a enrollment consulting company. We do have recommendations, and I am excited to look at those recommendations. We have a 2-day conference with them, February 11th and 12th. And of course, the goal with them is to try to improve our enrollment flow and our processes to make sure that it's better. We're always improving it, and it's the best enrollment process possible. I realize everyone knows there's always room for improvement, but we really are committed to making drastic improvements for the student experience and all students, on virtual students, face-to-face students, all students. So let me know if you have any questions about those updates, but I wanted to be brief, and I look forward to providing you updates in future virtual learning chats. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see we also have joining us this evening, hello, Brett, Lois, and Josh. So hello, glad to see you. Next we have Jasmine.
Thanks, Doreen. Good evening again, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. So there's just a few items that I wanted to share in terms of updates for academic affairs area. As you may know, student registration is kind of around the corner. It's occurring at the end of March for both summer and fall. The schedules are pretty much live on for students to be able to view what's kind of coming up here. This is when they'll be able to officially register. So I am also working with our faculty to identify courses that they'll be teaching for summer, and then next I'll be starting with fall course selection and preferences. Moving on to the second bullet item, new student concern process. So this is it's something that we've kind of always had in place in terms of the various categories and trying to work with students to make sure that they are having a good experience. But we're kind of gathering this information in a new way. So we have an internal form right now that we are using. It's a Google form, and it's also going to provide us some analytics to best identify some of those concerns and what maybe the majority of those concerns entail. But this is the way in which we're using to kind of triage this process and make sure that students are getting the needs that they are getting responses to any concerns that they may have. So that's kind of everything is kind of going through Elaine Holland in terms of her filling out the form. And then we have all kind of taken a category, if you will, of that concern process in terms of our virtual learning leadership team. And we're all working together to make sure that we're working with students to get their questions and answers heard and working with them. So I don't know if there's any questions about that. I think I mentioned it during our last virtual learning chat as well, but I just wanted to make sure faculty are aware we're continuing to work with students in that way. And then there is another form that I know Emily has been working really diligently on and will provide inside of D2L for students to be able to fill out at will. So that is a little different, but it's still through the same type of idea. We also have a new waitlist process. Prior to classes beginning, if a class fills up, students can sign up for the waitlist of a course. So what will happen is a student is identified from that waitlist if a seat becomes available. It also helps deans in terms of scheduling to determine if we need to add another section of a particular course. So it is very handy in that regard. But another purpose of the waitlist is, it's turned off 2 days prior to the semester beginning. So students can have up until 2 days again to sign up for a course if they're noticing that a class fills up. After this process, if a student, or if we wish faculty to be able to work with students to enroll them in their course if they're willing to go over capacity. However, I would like to be a good partner with our faculty in that regard and making sure that we're communicating so that approval can be provided to overload your course. We need to be cautious about the number of students in which we are allowing into our courses, so that's sometimes a conversation will ensue in that regard. So I just ask for folks our faculty to contact me to make sure that we're okay to move forward with next steps. Plus, we want to make sure that we're getting students on the wait list, those who have signed up at the top of that wait list so that they're contacted first. And then after that, of course, I know students email faculty directly, but we want to make sure we're mindful of those students who try to tap into that particular resource so that they have access to the course if you're willing to do that. So that's just a little piece about that new waitlist process. This has recently changed. It was in full swing this winter term, this spring term, a little bit more in that regard. So a lot of questions have come about, and I think as we move forward, there will be more discussion and potential changes that may take place. Like with any new thing, a little bit of the challenges and the initial steps, but certainly there's progress here. We're also asking that faculty do monitor their emails within a 24-hour period to respond to students so that they can get into the course. So that is a slight change in that 48-hour guideline that we've had. I just want to make sure there aren't any questions here. Okay, great. So we also have a confirmation of attendance window. We have 2 confirmations of attendance. I know Doreen sent out some information via email, but we want to make sure students are aware if they are at risk of being dropped from a course. We understand that faculty have their standard in terms of what is considered attending, what type of academic activity they participated in, which is different for our variety of faculty members. But it's just nice for a student to be aware that, hey, you are at risk of being dropped. So you need to make sure you're in the course, you're working on whatever items that you have designated for them to work on before we maybe drop them. It's just a courtesy type of approach to working with our students, and we want to retain students ultimately. If a student is dropped and they need to re-enter into the course, we just simply ask that faculty do not manually enroll them in Brightspace, that we go through the proper channels to get them appropriately registered in our system so that they can do all the other pieces that they need to from the registration end. Adjunct faculty observations, I think I mentioned this in our last faculty chat, but I will share again. Each semester we identify faculty who are developing new preps, our new hires, who maybe haven't had an observation within a 5-year period. If you have an academic year assignment, that is an automatic kind of a observation for a faculty member. If there are some other things that might crop up throughout the semester, if a student has a concern about something and it warrants us to go into to do an observation, these are some various categories that would trigger an observation. So we do evaluate our classes. We care again about our quality. We want to make sure that we're good partners with our faculty. And of course, systems change, designs change, design changes. Our approaches change to how we teach online, and so we want to make sure we're kind of in good communication with our adjunct faculty members and working with them in unique ways. And in certain respects, we will also do this for our full-time faculty, but that is a little bit of a different process. Full-time faculty evaluation also will be in full swing here this semester, where the information will be forthcoming from the provost's office about how to best prepare for writing that self-assessment and what to expect from your department chairs and deans in terms of your supervisors who will be writing pieces of that evaluation. Communications to our virtual learning students or ways in which we hope our faculty communicate with students. We talked a little bit about this during a virtual learning campus day. Every faculty member has a extension that they have access to be able to hear voicemail messages that students leave for them. So we, of course, use that as a way for our faculty to make contact with students. You can also use that for office hours as well. There is a kind of a unique notification approach that you can tap into, our faculty can tap into, working with our IT support center. If a student maybe calls you and you can either listen to an email and hear that actual voicemail message directly from within your Outlook account. And there's also sometimes a notification that is sent to faculty letting them know that they have a voicemail waiting for them. So it's helpful in that regard because then you'll know something's waiting for you. You need to call into it. It's not I think 100% ironclad system. There are instances where I have had voicemail messages and I didn't receive an email for it. So it still is important to check to make sure you haven't missed anything and nothing was lost in that translation there. They're forwarding phone calls and emails. I think there's also another opportunity there to work with students and making sure that you're having an open line of communication. Zoom is another neat feature because of obviously you can online conference with students. You can use that for office hours. There's also a really neat conference call feature that's associated with Zoom as well. And a lot of students have apps for it and things of that nature. I hear a lot of students are tapping into that resource in their vehicles and making contact with faculty. So we just want to make sure people are being safe. Another neat resource, Google Voice. You can utilize a phone number that is all through the Google platform. And there's a link that I provide there that gives a little bit more information about how to set that up. Google Hangouts is another neat thing as well. We have adopted Zoom, of course, institutionally, but there still are other options to have students make contact with you. If you wish to have your phone number not identified and you want to use your personal cell phone, I use this actually a lot. I'm concealing your number if you're wanting to not share that. We certainly respect that. You just want to dial *67 that would actually block the phone number from appearing. So that's another feature that you can use. Some students do have their phones set up where they don't accept block calls. So then of course you could utilize another item that I suggested here. So those are just some items that you can use for having students reach out to you or you reach out to students. A faculty voicemail box, I think this was an item that Doreen had attached to the email. I won't go into too much detail, but this is of course how you access your voicemail box as a faculty member from our IP system.
Thank you, Michelle. Jasmine. I'm looking at Michelle. Jasmine, and I think David has a question in the chat. I'm sorry.
Yes, so there is an approval process because, again, communication with the dean and the faculty member is important so that we're not far exceeding the seat caps of the course. So yes, if students are requesting to be allowed in, and plus there could be additional pay options that are associated with that. Some students we know just wish to take a particular faculty member and want to be in the course, and that's great. It's a compliment to the faculty member. But we have to keep in mind that if there are seats available in other sections, that's another thing that we want to tap into first. But that communication with the dean is important for this particular wait list. Some of the items that have come up about that. I hope I've answered your question in that regard. Thank you. All right. Yep. And I see Gina has tapped into that feature of getting messages, which is wonderful. You can also hear messages if you have an Outlook app on your phone. It kind of can come through in that way too. So it is pretty neat. Oh, Gina, I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about that, how you text students using that. Okay, I'll turn it back over to Doreen and or Michelle, who I think might be going next. Thank you, Michelle Myers.
Two Michelles on the call. Yeah. Okay, so this is virtual learning workforce development. Some of you may not know that one of the strategic initiatives of the college is to put workforce development, commonly known as non-credit courses, online. So Josh Eckenrode, I noticed, is on the meeting tonight. We're a team of 2, so we're doing our darndest to get them up there. And you can see the different areas where we have public safety and emergency management, computer and technology training, healthcare, professional business skills, which covers a wide variety of areas, manufacturing, and hospitality. So we still only have 20 unique online workforce development courses open for registration. What we do have is an online course catalog where students can go right in and register for the course right away, pay with a credit card, and it's connected to D2L. They're automatically included into D2L. So right now we're at 20. This is since April of 2018. So we're doing well. We're hoping to have a few more before the end of the fiscal year. Some of you may not know, workforce development does not work on the academic year. It works on a fiscal year, July 1 to June 30th. So February, we're hoping to have conversational Spanish, which I'm very excited about. This course is going to be fabulous. And then, yes, forklift certification is finally coming. I've been talking about this for 1.5 years. So students who need the lecture portion of the forklift certification will get it online, and then of course some of them will have to go and actually drive a forklift. So, and I think that might be all I have. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle Myers on workforce? All right. Well, I see Tamara isn't able to join us this evening, but I see we have Carrie. Hi, Carrie. Just want to give a reminder, Mel and I from CDI, we did have a good conversation with Tamara last week. And so Tamara's getting that information out and available to the faculty sooner than later. But I wanted to also share with you, we do have the launch, I think it was as of Monday, the new Hack Cornerstone system. So just doing a friendly kind of outreach for them. When you have an opportunity, please log into your My Hack account. click on Human Resources, and then you'll see actually on the Human Resources page, it's on the bottom right-hand corner. So on the bottom right-hand corner, there's a block of professional development resources for faculty and staff. And this is going to be the new system for HR to track all professional development for every single HAC employee and faculty member. So all employees have access to the system. I already completed in the system a Clery Act training, so all compliance training will be here. This is where you as faculty would also kind of keep track and log all of your professional development that you've done externally and internally within HAC. So this is kind of like your your transcripts for professional development completed at HAC and here and externally. So check it out when you have a chance. Just a friendly reminder about our fabulous CDI team. Mel did share a great video that she created and shared with everyone at our campus day on how to add a widget to your course to have for students kind of front and center all of that great contact information, how they can get a hold of you and or your syllabus. So how do they find quickly and easy ways to reach out to you as faculty and get the information they need about their syllabus. So check out the CDI training and resources. Also for faculty, Jennifer Hummel, just a friendly reminder, she's available to support you and your students. Jennifer is very active as well in our embedded librarian program, and we're looking to work with the library to continue to expand that for next academic year. Our VLFA, Carrie, I know you said it's kind of noisy where you're at, but do you want to use the microphone? Sorry, Carrie. I see, Carrie, you have a suggestion in here, though. Can they assign those so they show up in my training? Do you mean in Cornerstone My Training? Okay. I will talk with you more about that. She's at a place where it's really loud, no problem. And Carrie would just like to share with all faculty that the VLFA has a meeting on February 12th. So please mark your calendars, February 12th. And check the VLFA comments for the great resources that Carrie provides to you as faculty. And also, she's kindly uploaded what we have so far. We are still collecting some notes and recordings and information from our VL Campus Day, but thank you, Carrie, for getting up there and available to everyone what we have so far. Thanks, Carrie. And Carrie, maybe you and I'll chat about the new Cornerstone on an aside call. So I just want to make sure I'm meeting the needs of our faculty and representing them well. So thank you. All right, and now it's our guest, Michelle Girardi, and her beautiful photo here. Hello, Michelle. Please take it away. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, so much for having me back. I was chatting with somebody and I said it feels like coming home to HAC, actually, not to sound corny or whatever, but that's how it feels because I spent 2 years in the virtual community and a little bit on campus, the Lancaster campus, but I really dove in and made the virtual community at HAC my family, so it feels really good to be here. So Doreen asked me to speak with everyone tonight to just talk about my experience as a virtual student. I've actually participated in or was a student in 5 different virtual programs. The first was MiraCosta College in California, and that was all the way back in 2002. And then I did some work with UC Irvine, and then HAC, and then Harvard's Extension School, both the Extension School, the Kennedy School, and the College of Arts and Sciences. And then now, as I said, I'm at Westchester University. And my experiences have been varied. Obviously, back in 2002, things were slow going in terms of the technology. But I will say that throughout all of my experiences, what I've learned is that a professor, and this is definitely something that I've learned now that I've started doing some teaching myself, and that is that a professor can really set the tone, or in my opinion, is responsible for setting the tone for each class, right? And this is particularly critical, again, my opinion, as a virtual student, to the virtual experience. You know, you have to virtual is great because it transcends boundaries, whether that be physical boundaries of walls, it could be borders, it could be oceans, ideas, concepts, but that's the space that we're living in, thanks to the internet, all the way back, starting with dial-up and modems and that terrible sound that we all heard accessing AOL back in the 90s. But it's the world that we're living in, and individuals who choose to teach in virtual settings have the responsibility to participate in a way and to lead in a way that is engaging for the students, but also that assumes the role and responsibility that you know, that you are on the cutting edge, that while you are on the cutting edge, it's also status quo and it's business as usual. And you know, you're not so different from those students that choose to learn in brick and mortar facilities throughout the central Pennsylvania. And the reason why I'm bringing this up specifically is because the greatest experience that I had where teachers set this tone, unfortunately, was not at HAC. I had some professors there that were pretty great. They did very well. Other professors sort of led with the foot of the stigma that because we are virtual students and choosing to learn this way, that we obviously, these were her words, we are obviously trying to cheat the system, or that it's going to be assumed that we, you know, that we are using our notes when we take tests and that we're going to be rushing last minute to get assignments done or what have you. But the best experience that I had was through Harvard's Extension School. And that was because the professors assumed if you made it through the rigor of applying to get to the institution, you're in. And all of them also postured themselves as though they had the assumption that they're currently holding positions in the workplace globally, some of them very high esteemed positions within the federal government or other governments, that that this is how the world works today. We need technology to be able to connect. We do this in business, we do this in banking. Some people order their groceries online. You know, it is merely a platform and a tool to be able to get stuff done. We all want to be the most efficient, effective versions of ourselves, and that is how technology is used. So at Harvard, they have the extension school, and you have to only do 2 physical residency requirements, meet them where you go, or it's not 2, actually, it's a certain number of credits, forgive me. So you go on campus and you participate and what have you, but then otherwise, everything else is contained wherever it is that you are. It meets you where you are, just as though you are on campus. And to some of you, I'm preaching to the choir, and I absolutely understand that. Again, I just want to talk to you about my experience. That's what Doreen wanted, excuse me. But for others, there is still this, I don't know, it's again, it's a stigma that it's less than, that this platform, virtual platform of learning or teaching is less than. And we have to together figure out ways to overcome that. So at Harvard, the assumption was just there. And maybe it was because of the name, the gravitas that the institution brought with it. But one thing I did notice was that the IT department set the standard for, it was all about cybersecurity, and it was about the functionality of accessing your classes, right? I just want to do a time check. The functionality of the classwork, and you had to actually sign paperwork that said you're going to commit to having a certain level of internet quality, and if it's found out at any point in time that you've not fulfilled that requirement, then you could be dropped from the class with no reimbursement for the class. So there was that element to it. But what I also noticed as a big difference, and this is somewhere where HACC excels, is that the core administration of the institution at Harvard, they didn't emphasize virtual learning, right? It was just learning. And that's because Harvard started with a correspondence course like 200 years ago. It wasn't that long. It was like 150 years ago. I should know this and I forget it. Sorry. But that was how it started. And that some of the greatest minds were studying abroad or doing whatever they were doing abroad. And then they would correspond, pen on paper, old school, and submit it in and get grades. And then they would become graduates of the school. So to them, it was nothing different. Again, business as usual. It was just another method of connecting, another method of imparting knowledge on a person, and then as a student, proving your knowledge. But what I want to now emphasize is that at HACC, it was evident that the administration really valued, and obviously in this meeting tonight, values today virtual students, right? They don't see them as anything different, but they do perhaps see them as exceptional because they're evidently students who are also dealing with perhaps working full-time. They have a whole life that they're a part of. They have volunteer commitments. They have, any number of things going on, and they are choosing to put that aside for the time that they are participating in classes virtually to be students, and that's recognized and that's valued. I wish that was acknowledged more at Harvard in different ways, because how that also plays out, and this was evident tonight, Jasmine talked a lot about the student experience, and Brandy talked about the student experience. And there's a lot of cognizance and intention put into your processes at HACC to make sure that virtual students that can't just get to campus easily, that are strewn, throughout the globe, that they have the opportunity, that they have no barriers to accomplishing the tasks that they need to accomplish as students. That was not as highly refined at Harvard, because I think they were so focused on making sure that there was no differentiation. Like, no, everybody's the same. We're going to look at you all the same. It's all the same. And that feels good. But then I think there's some equity that gets lost. And I want to, really just highlight and speak as highly as I possibly can to HACC stepping forward and championing that in terms of institutions. Because also, today at Westchester University, or I should say now this semester, while I love that many of the professors are very engaged and they do a lot in terms of, participating in the discussion forums, which I think is very important to engage with students virtually. There again is this lack of understanding of the virtual space. It's like professors are participating, but then you ask them about a question about the functionality of their course in D2L. We also use D2L. And it's, oh, don't talk to me about that. You got to contact IT. And that feels, that doesn't feel good as a student. I understand the reasoning for it as it's been explained to me. But at the same time, it's as though, okay, from a student's perspective, if if the professor doesn't understand the engagement platform, how do they expect us to understand and work with daily the engagement platform? You know, so again, this is something that HACC does very well. But if I could make a recommendation as a student, it would be to make sure that to step out of whatever box that you put virtual in, to understand that, you know, it is just what it is, as little as I like to say that in real life. You know, it's another medium of connection, and it's a necessary medium of connection, and that's all it is. It doesn't differ, you know, students don't differentiate in terms of quality, especially just because they're virtual students. So I will take questions and stop talking now.
Brandy said, thank you, strong points. And Michelle, you brought up a really good point about, again, kind of our language and or kind of our assumption sometimes about students, and not only virtual students. I was excited to hear that our reading faculty, and Valerie, I don't know if you know more about this, so our reading faculty have taken on kind of to review the language in syllabi. And that's what their initial assessment was, is that syllabi is saying, you can't do this, don't cheat this, you know, so kind of that, you know, is the syllabus really speaking to what are we accomplishing together? What is our learning contract? What are we going to be doing together instead of don't do this, don't cheat, you know, like
Right.
It's kind of putting up, making all these assumptions, like you said, making all these assumptions and not really setting the tone for, again, how are we
partnership,
right?
Really, because if I want to approach a professor, you know, learning is a very intimate experience. This is something that I've also learned over my arc of education in the last several years, including HACC. And that is that it's a very intimate experience. And some of us, you know, we strive to do better in other areas, and we're timid about some of the things we're learning. We carry with us our baggage, you know, all the things, right? And so the relationship that can be cultivated successfully between a professor and a student is very dynamic. You know, when it's the opportunity, you know, for it to be done is very dynamic. But conversely, if it's not done well, it inhibits growth and evolution and learning possibilities for the student.
I agree. Thank you. And Michelle, real quick, two other quick things. One, you had shared with me, again, when you were a student at HACC, that you weren't aware of a scholarship that Harvard provided, and that's actually how you found your pathway to Harvard. So do you want to share that story quickly?
Sure. So actually, it was after Jasmine and I attended a leadership conference down in Florida. I got a couple of emails from the dean at Harvard that said, we've heard about your leadership abilities. We have a scholarship available to you if you're interested. We'd like to talk to you. And I frankly thought it was a joke. To this day, no one will tell me, no one has told me who gave them my information. It took a few more weeks and a follow-up email from the dean to say, no, really, we have this PTK scholarship waiting for you. If you're interested, you'd need to apply and all of those things. But it would get you through the admissions. The way that Harvard does it for non-traditional students is you have to apply. And then if you are conditionally admitted, then you have to take 3 courses your first semester, which are not able to get traditional funding for because you're not a fully admitted student. And one of them is an English course, a math course, and then one that's within your field of study. So in order to pay for that, I would have had to either pay out of pocket, which wasn't an option for me, or this PTK scholarship. So I contacted them. I said, yes, absolutely. If you want me, I want you. I just didn't really think you wanted me. And then I applied for the PTK scholarship and I got it. And they paid for my first semester. But nobody at HAC knew about the scholarship. Not a single person. Nobody on the foundation side. I had to contact PTK, but it was through the admitting college that I found out about it.
Great, excellent, thank you. So we will continue to share that message on your behalf.
Please do, yeah, please. And Harvard's not the only school that has that scholarship. I just want that to be clear. It is a school with that scholarship, but PTK has a lot of agreements with many universities.
Excellent, thank you. And Carrie shared in the chat, Michelle, she said she agrees about learning being an intimate process, and she said it's part of what makes teaching so rewarding.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
And Katie just said she loved hearing this, so thank you. And Michelle, you have to also share with us your fabulous story about your picture here by the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. Michelle was just in Paris in Italy, so
yes, I was.
And the interesting place that Paris is in nowadays.
Yes, it is. Well, yes, so I had planned a trip for myself during the break to Paris. And then, I met someone virtually as well, the person that took that photograph. And so we traveled around the city and the area and then to Italy as well. And so my foundation, what I studied at HAC was international relations. So for me, it was particularly interesting to see the social and political distress that Paris and France is currently in, but then to also see it from an insider's perspective, because I was staying with a Parisian and someone who is part of the working class, and to see that the movements and the presentations are quite docile and calm, and unfortunately there are a few groups that sort of take advantage of those situations, like the anonymous group, and they get in there and they destroy things and they spray paint the Arc de Triomphe and all of these things, and they put out a lot of terrible publicity. But many things that I found were, it was what I can say is, from my experience there, is that it was really democracy at work. The people are unhappy with decisions that the government is making. So they have taken out permits to protest every Saturday. On Sunday, the women's marches occur, or the Sunday that I was there, it occurred. And the streets are flanked with police officers because of the permitting process, and they're all fighting for lower taxes and to be able to earn living wages around the country. So it's all very, civilized is the word I would use. So it's, I could share more if you want to email me, but it was fascinating, the experience.
Thank you. And as Michelle alluded to, I got to meet Michelle for the first time in the fall semester. She was actually teaching class as part of Dr. Warman's class at the Lancaster campus, on-campus class, and Michelle was presenting her research to the class on human trafficking. And as I mentioned, she's going to be assisting us with supporting the English language learners fast track, and Michelle's going to also be applying for should I call it an internship, Michelle, or the
Yeah, it's called the William Penn Fellowship through the governor's office. I'm sure many people have heard of it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. So we will continue to keep you updated on that. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing all of that with us this evening.
Thank you so much, everybody, again for having me. It was great to be back.
All right. So just here, we're going to wrap up because it is that time. I don't want to keep everyone over. if you have a chance, please take a moment. I just have one question for you in this virtual learning evaluation. So as we're doing our Halogen year-end evaluations at this time, I'm interested in hearing from you. What one thing can we do better to support you? We're going to have the Virtual Learning Spring Forum with the president on Monday, February 25th. The details for Zoom will be out shortly for that, and our retreat is coming up on April 5th at CCA. Thank you. Continue to support our students the best that you can. Just remember that we are here to support you as faculty and staff and also our students. So thank you everyone for your time this evening. I appreciate all that you're doing. Any questions before we go? Questions, comments?
I had a quick question.
Yes.
About where to find the Hack Cornerstone.
Yes.
Is it a repository for professional development and whatnot?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Let me see here. Oops. It says I can't minimize my screen when I'm recording. So sorry.
Doreen, this is
Yes.
Michelle. I think it's under the Human Resources tab in My Hack.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where you find it.
I was going to see if I could navigate to it. Yeah.
It's on the right-hand side. Once you click on Human Resources,
bottom.
it'll say
Mm-hmm.
Cornerstone LMS.
Yeah, let me screen share. So again, you go into My Hack, you click on the Human Resources tab, it'll bring you here, and then you see Faculty and Staff Development Institute, and it's the Hack Cornerstone LMS. Does that help? Does that help, Matthew? I can't hear you. Oh, now I can, maybe. Sorry, Matthew.
Sorry, microphone was out of the way. Yep,
okay.
I got it.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great evening, and I look forward to seeing you at the April retreat. Have a great night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.